Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder it is time to have a look at an upcoming vehicle for the Operation Shipyard event. So this is the VT1-2. It is technically a German MBT which is coming to the game at rank 6 because of the Operation Shipyard event. So this is the ground vehicle that you can get out of the event. Now we don't know the full details about the event so far, but this has just been added to the live server. The user mission that you see here was created by Father Gentlespie, so just want to thank Father Gentlespie for creating it, and also say if you want to see more of his work and more of the stuff that he's done, make sure to go to the Tech Hub and check the War Thunder Historian data section. He posts a lot of data mines there, and it's incredibly kind of him doing so to keep the community informed about what's going on with the new updates of the game. So the VT1-2 is a machine which doesn't have a turret. It's more set up like a tank destroyer, if anything else, and it also has two 120mm Rheinmetall guns attached to it. It has a ton of speed behind it. It actually has 2,200 horsepower worth of engine power, and also it's at 43 tons. This gives it an insane power to weight ratio, and you can definitely tell through its acceleration that it's able to bip and bop around the place incredibly well. Another thing is that it gets Heat FS as a stock modification, and then it gets access to DM12 and DM23, so exactly the same rounds that you find on the Leopard 2A4. Now I do want to stress before what I'm going to say that these are preliminary numbers, because some of the stuff I'm going to talk about in this video I would definitely say is either going to change or is at least subject to change. The first one is the fact that this vehicle right now is at 8.3 BR. And that is in the files. So it's at 8.3 BR, and it also has a repair cost of 5.5k or 5,500. So it's incredibly cheap. It's rank 6. It doesn't seem to have premium attached to it, but it's sat at 8.3 BR. Two 120mm Rheinmetall guns with access to 10.0 ammunition is sat at 8.3 BR right now. It also has ridiculous gun depression, -10, and decent gun elevation as well. There is no secondary armaments on this machine though, which definitely lets it down. So no machine guns at all, or nothing to deal with, you know, helicopters or aircraft which may come in to deal with. It also has a Proof 3. They're all sat in the front of the machine in an interesting horizontal line. So once you just pen the front of this, you're pretty much going to kill it because of the spread of the majority of ammunition. Also, the ammunition is stored directly behind the 3 crew members, so if you don't kill them, you're going to ignite the ammunition, and if you don't ignite the ammunition, then the massive engine block that is in the back of this machine will also eat your shell. Don't think it has access to hull brake mechanic right now, but we'll see in the future if that is the case. But it just does have access to so many different things. Its traverse is absolutely insane. It can turn on a dime. It does have dual drive, meaning that one track goes forward and the other one goes back. It also is able just to flip around at speed, and at the same time its acceleration from 0 to 60 is incredibly good. The maximum speed that I've been able to attain on this thing is 68 kilometers an hour. It is listed to have a top speed of 70 kilometers an hour, meaning that, well, that's pretty close. Most vehicles really struggle to get to their top speed, but this thing, with the amount of engine power that is in the booty, it seems to be able to get up there. Now, what is also interesting is they've added a new aiming system specifically for this machine, and I've done a separate segment to go through that in a live sense, so there you go. Enjoy that. So here's the live demonstration of the new aiming mechanic for this vehicle, the VT1. Of course, it doesn't have a turret, and it also doesn't have any horizontal movement, so therefore they've got to find a way to actually make it get on target, because as you can see, if you're stood still, you're not able to actually move the gun either way. So if you go A versus D, you can see it's nearly impossible to line up the gun with your actual aimer, even even though this thing has really good, you know, horsepower and really good power behind it, it's really not easy to line stuff up. So they've added this mechanic in. If you go to controls, and then here, you can see it's hashtag hotkeys ID enable GM hull aiming. Now, this is shown at the bottom. You can see under left control next to the hook icon, and when you click this on, so you hit the left control button, what it does is if you're stationary, it makes the vehicle turn while you turn your mouse. So I'm not touching my keyboard at all right now. This is all mouse control. So it moves you slightly forward as you go. But also at the same time you can see that if I want to line up on, let's say, that target, I can do it like that. Now it's a little bit janky right now. But that's completely fine, you know. It happens, and it doesn't fully line up with what you see. But you can see that with this mechanic, it's going to be a lot easier to aim with it instead of some other mechanics which would be just using the keyboard. Now, this only works when stationary. So you can see here, I'm moving. If I'm looking this way, which is at 90 degrees to the right, I am not able to turn the vehicle. But as I slow down, so let's just brake a little bit, and once it hits 0 or 4, you can see it says hull aiming in the top left. So therefore, it goes into this mouse aiming mode. So once you're stationary, it means that you yourself can use the mouse to aim your vehicle. At the same time, you can also, you know, go into this view and start aiming your vehicle like this. So it will just move with your vehicle. I think this mode seems to work pretty well, and also look how look at the gun depression, it's wonderful. But yeah, so that's the general look at how this aiming mode works. Back to the video. So back to the vehicle itself. The fact that this machine is at 8.3 at least right now means that it's very flexible. You can either run it with stuff like the Leopard A1A1 and the Leopard A1A1L44, or you can maybe use it as a top tier vehicle, meaning that you run some form of 8.3 lineup. The fact that it's aiming means that you can actually get guns on targets without struggling with your keyboard or with your controller is always going to be lovely when it comes to the guns. The one thing though is the fact that they are sat on a horizontal plane and there's no degrees which they go left or right. One of the problems I am running into is convergence on the guns. When aiming these guns, what I'm finding is I cannot technically aim straight. That's not right. They're not converging at all, but at the same time, the aimer is not lining up with the actual shots that I'm taking. Now, it was talked about that the aiming and the way that it would work for this vehicle is depending on what gun you were using, you would be able to flip between optical sights, and therefore you would be able to shoot each gun independently and you wouldn't have to worry about convergence of the guns. But at least right now that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to be more of a gun sight in the center of the machine. Another thing that was mentioned in the dev block that doesn't seem to be in this user mission is a different reload for each of the guns. So the left-hand gun, which you can see that there is a mechanism behind the gun in the X-ray, it has an automatic loading system. On the right-hand side, it is a manually loaded system, and I have no idea how the guy gets back there to do it, but also there is a fuel tank there behind the gun itself. So there is slight differences between the sides of the vehicle and the guns themselves, but at least that's what they said in the dev block. From my at least preliminary reading about this machine, it seems that it was also planned to have 2 auto-loaders in it, so I'm wondering if that's going to be the case. Also, the way that the guns are set up is one is set up as your primary gun, which is the left-hand gun, and the right-hand gun is set up as your secondary. So as long as you keybind your primary and secondary guns, you'll be completely fine with this machine. You'll be able to do, you know, wonders when it comes to shooting things. You can also put in separate rounds, so if you want Heat FS in one of the guns and you want DM23 in the other, you're able to set that up, meaning that you can deal with more situations coming forward instead of just singular situations. So with this new aiming scheme, I definitely think this vehicle is interesting. I like it when they take these event vehicles and kind of add something new and spicy to them, which isn't really going to break them. But also it's a good way of testing a mechanic in the public domain or in the live server, such as, you know, the VS8, the bullpups from the FJ4B, and now with the new aiming system that you find on the VT1-2. A lot of people have said that because of this aiming system it could open up a new world into other vehicles. The wonderful Swedish keep getting mentioned with, of course, their SDRVs 1 and 3s, and yes, an aiming system like this would definitely fit them. The only difference is with the SDRV you would have to move the tracks instead of the gun being elevated and depressed. You would have to move the whole machine, which I think could easily be done with this mouse aiming mechanic. It is kind of sad that this machine is missing some features. As I said before, no real secondary armaments in the form of machine guns. It's always nice to have a machine gun, even if you don't really use it too much, especially if you're at the BRs of helicopters, just because you want to be able to deal some damage to either airplanes or helicopters around the place. And also, with machines like Orbals running around, when you don't have a turret, it's always nice to have a little bit of a backup. That's what makes the 20mm from something like a KPZ or something like a Leopard 2K incredibly nice to have. But unfortunately, this machine doesn't seem to have it. At least right now, even though it does seem to have some form of night vision or thermal sights, I'm not exactly sure which, doesn't seem to be modeled right now, at least in the user mission, so wasn't able to test that. And also other things is the survivability of this is pretty much bar 0, and there doesn't also seem to be any scouting attached to it. So this is going to be a hyper-aggressive, well, even though it's in real life, it was seen as an MBT, or supposed to be an MBT, in game it's going to act like a hyper-aggressive tank destroyer, which you'll get maybe 1 or 2 kills, move position, do the same thing over and over again, pretty much what you do in a Hellcat or some machine like that. The only limitation you have, of course, is the fact that, well, it won't be as easy to get your guns on target, but once you get your guns on target, you're going to put large holes in pretty much everything. When it comes to meta-defining, do I think this thing is meta-defining? Depending on how precise they make the aiming, because right now it's a little bit floaty when it comes to this new mechanic, and if they make it way more precise, I can definitely see this thing being an incredibly good vehicle for whatever BR they put it at. This thing has the ability to be able to put pretty much from 8.0 to 10.0 and still be as combat effective as it would be as normal. The only thing that's going to limit it is, as I said, its survivability and also getting its guns on target. If it's able to do that, we all know that the Rheinmetall 120 is incredibly good in this game, and having 2 of them is just really icing on the cake. So, that is a look at the VT1-2. Hopefully we see it soon in the Operation Shipyard events, and hopefully we find out how to grind the damn thing, which is, I'm sure, what everybody is looking forward to. If you need any more information, make sure to get on the Tech Hub Discord. We'll make sure to set up some rooms so therefore you can understand exactly what is going on with the event. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Mopar 1969, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyans Terry, and Elove Goats, and of course Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.